One in the postseason, back-to-back overtime games. This offense was on the field for the last 6 minutes of the regulation, and they begin with a dangerous throw over the head of Robbins. 10. Pass almost intercepted. Eli Apple jumped the route.
Oh, Robinson.
Position. Lewis Billups dropped a very similar chance at a pick in the next play. Montana beat him with a touchdown pass to Taylor. And now they go deep down the field. And it is intercepted on the rebound by Bell. On Bell. Oh, he is clobbered, clotheslined at the 45. But they take over. The Bengals with the third straight game in the playoffs where they come up with a Hill blanked since halftime. Not a catch. First down throw. And that's Higgins. There's Mixon to make sure he's right. They said it to Brandon Allen, the holder. We're going, hey, can't believe we're going to the AFC Championship. Well, and he made it from 52. Second and 1. Mixon cuts outside, then slashes inside. And they've got a new set of downs at the 42.
Nice 57, 60 yards, and 52, you know, get in there.
This could be a sentence that a month ago would sound incomprehensible. From 31 yards, McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl.
He called it again, I'm sure. He walked up and he goes, "Can you believe, Coach? We're going to the Super Bowl." And they did it. They beat Mahomes at home. Wow, Joe Burrow. No way.
Got to get to the 14.
You got to chip on the edge with Ingram and have him come up on the inside. Some of these guys.
Allen fires it. It's a wide open. Remarkable. Touchdown. Buffalo. Davis again. Allen could try to make it a three-point lead. Circling around at the 18. Now looks. Flings it back in the end zone. There's Diggs. Caught it for the 2. Down the middle. It's Hill in the open. Cuts it upfield. He might be gone. He is. Kansas City takes the lead with a minute to go. And yet there's still plenty of time and 3 timeouts for the Bills, for Josh Allen to go right back and answer again. Could we possibly have 3 lead changes inside the last 2 minutes of a divisional playoff game?
No, no way.
No way?
Maybe way.
From the 19 in 17 seconds. Down the middle to the end zone, and there it is! Touchdown number 4 on the night for Davis. Believe it. Can't believe that defense got beaten up like that.
So this is
here's Hill.
They've got a chance.
Kicks.
Gotta throw it right away, right now to someone in the middle.
Down the middle. Oh my goodness! It's going to be a 48-yard attempt. Hundreds of thousands around the planet. The kick is good. It's going to overtime. Looking to the end zone for the win. He caught it. Ball game. Chiefs to the championship game.
Somehow comes out there and shows the world, I'm still here. Andy Reid.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of RefBall Sports. We are your hosts. I am Ryan, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am here and wounded and ready to be hurt again.
We both are. We both are. We took a week off because we had some other stuff pop up for us, and of course, the day that we take off is when our hearts got torn to shreds. We were, of course, talking about the Kansas City Chiefs trading Tyreek Hill, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. We're gonna cover some smaller stuff here. First, just covering some basic news from free agency. So, Matt, wanna kick it off with some good old news?
Sure. Well, in the time that we were gone, there were definitely a lot of stories that came through. One of the bigger moves that happened in general was definitely Matt Ryan heading over to Indianapolis to be their starter. They shipped off Carson Wentz earlier in the year, and they traded for him for, I believe it was just a 1/3 round pick. Was it?
Hang on. I'll look up the details. Matt Ryan trade.
It was just a 3rd round pick.
Yep, just a 3rd round pick. So that should tell you how the Falcons felt about him.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a money move. They ate so much in dead cap to make this happen.
It's a money move, but they ate up about $45 million in dead cap.
They also signed Marcus Mariota to be their replacement, which is a choice that I would not have made. But
maybe he can.
Here we are.
Maybe he can revive his career. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm not optimistic, but if you're a Falcons fan,
I mean,
your owner kind of already showed his hand early.
Yeah.
When asked about the cap hit, he said that they were trying to eat it this year to set them up better for future years. Which, I don't know about you, but that's the closest I think I've ever heard an owner come to admitting that they're going to tank this year.
Yeah. He pretty much just said, "Yeah, I don't really care about our record this year."
Yeah, pretty much. In a move like this, I mean, I understand why. Get some value out of him. Maybe flip that 3rd round pick into a rotational starter of some kind. But it's just super hard to justify why an Atlanta Falcons fan might want to buy tickets this year.
We're gonna see a Houston Oilers scenario where in their last season they just had no one show up to their games,
which is wild because they were actually really good that year.
Yeah.
But that's that's the Chargers every year at this point.
They lost in the playoffs to us.
Ooh.
So here's an interesting one too. There's quite a few, some stuff that we're gonna mention here. Ravens re-signed John Harbaugh to a 3-year contract.
Yes, that it's one that makes sense. I mean, he's the coach. He's one of the longer tenured coaches in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
He might be the longest active, in terms of what team he's for.
Probably, although Belichick might have him beat.
I mean, Belichick, yeah, of course.
I know it's between
the only other person I can think
Harbaugh
of.
And Reed.
Tomlin's been around a while too.
Tomlin has been around. Some would say too long.
I'm not one of those people. Tomlin is a damn fine coach.
If you ask Urinating Tree, he would say otherwise, but
I think he's a damn fine coach who has had to put up with so many personalities and things.
Yeah.
The fact that the locker room didn't utterly collapse with the likes of Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell all in it is a testament on its own, and you should put that man's bust in the Hall of Fame now. Holy hell.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the new overtime rules the NFL has implemented, and then we'll get into a couple of Chiefs signings as well.
Yeah. So they changed the overtime rules. As we know, it's been a controversial topic for a number of years, dating back to what game was it that we first got a vote on this about?
I believe it was the 2018 AFC Championship game between the Chiefs and Patriots.
Yes. Thanks for reminding me.
Where we
years
got
ago,
completely screwed by the refs in an overtime game.
We got screwed because D Ford
Yeah.
forgot to look where the line is on where to line up.
Yeah, and where's D Ford now? San Fran.
Injured reserve, I believe. Still somehow. The D Ford trade has definitely worked out in our favor.
For sure.
I actually saw a thread. I was looking into it not that long ago. There's some D Ford defenders in San Francisco.
Interesting.
Which I did not expect because I think he's played a total of 7 games for them over 3 years.
Probably.
That's an exaggeration, but he hasn't even been like a starter for them.
No.
So trading like a second round pick and a
rotational.
4th round pick, like I think we got good value out of it
I agree.
for how much production he's had.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, the new overtime rules. Go ahead and share your thoughts on it. Do you like the idea?
Yeah, so I think I said we talked about this very briefly. I think in the first episode.
Yeah, we did. We mentioned how we would want to change the overtime rules, and this was actually one of the ideas that we had brought up. And I don't think we actually mentioned what the rules were. I think we went off on a
the
tangent.
change. Yeah, we did. I started talking about D Ford. That'll get me. The new rules are as such. Both teams will get a possession at the beginning. They'll do it for the coin flip and everything. One team will gain possession, and then no matter what happens with the ball, I guess except for a walk-off defensive touchdown.
Yeah, that's correct. If a
Defensive points.
Yeah.
Defensive points don't count. But basically, each offense should get an opportunity with the ball. Each team should get an opportunity with the ball. I shouldn't say offense. But it's a lot more fair in quotation marks. And we'll get into those quotation marks here. I think it creates, I saw a discussion on Twitter. It creates an interesting scenario. So there was also a proposal, I believe, by the Titans that suggested that you should be able to go for 2 as an offense, and if you score the 2-point conversion, you then win the game outright, like first possession. Other team doesn't get it, which is an interesting concept.
That's interesting.
But I don't think it doesn't solve the problem.
No.
It just changes the problem.
Yeah.
And let's be honest here. It's overtime. It's never going to be completely fair, especially not when you start deciding things by a coin flip.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because we've only loosely talked about this before. There was a discussion on Twitter that it's probably beneficial in the new NFL or in the new rules in a postseason game to elect to kick it rather than to receive.
Oh, so to defer it, basically?
Essentially, yeah. So you let the other, or you would have to specify that you want to kick it, because the other team, you want them receiving it first.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting thought process, and I'll walk you through it real quick, and we'll see what you think of it. So the idea behind it is that when you kick off, they get the ball, they go down the field, you see what they do. They don't have the opportunity to do like a walk-off 2-point conversion because, you'll basically know what you have ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you receive the ball next time, you know exactly what your goals are, exactly what you need to do. You know how much time you have to do it. And if you choose to, you can try to do a walk-off 2-point conversion, assuming the other team scored. But the first team, I don't think would ever go for 2. The second team, though, it becomes an interesting conversation, and I'd love to hear what you have to think on that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting point. This was actually the way that I preferred that they did it, was each team got 1 possession. I think, yeah, it's only for the postseason, so it's not going to be for regular season games, which I was a fan of that too, because regular season, it's not necessary. Like, the overall likeliness of a tie game is very low.
Yes.
So, it makes sense not to do it in a regular season game. But postseason, there's a lot more on the line. So making it as fair as possible for both teams to have a chance to win it, I think, is the right thing, because not only does it give both offenses a chance to work, it also gives both defenses a chance to work. And as we all know, football is a game of all three facets: offense, defense, and special teams.
And so I think it's only fair to give all three like an opportunity to contribute and, do something with the game.
Yeah. Because, it's one thing to be like the Chiefs, for example, where the Chiefs typically have a pretty strong offense, but their defense is usually pretty spotty. So you kind of need your defense to be able to make some plays in order to, lock down a game.
Yeah.
Because what's the old adage? Defense wins championships. Something like that. But yeah, I think that this is an interesting decision. I think it's a good move moving forwards. Plus, it allows fans to get more drunk in a stadium.
You're damn right. Damn right.
But I agree with what I agree with what you said about if one team gets a touchdown in the opening drive, if the next team gets a touchdown, do you take the risk to tie it up and trust your defense, or do you take the risk and go for two?
Yeah, so it creates the same situation where there's still an opportunity for a walk-off, but it's much more. It gives the teams much more agency in how they. It's a lot more.
It's a lot more risk reward.
And don't get me wrong, overtime, we've talked about it, will never be fair. For one reason or another. Another aspect is the fact that defenses get tired.
Oh yeah.
And especially in an offensive-driven league, you can look at your defense and you can have faith in them for the first 4 quarters of a game, maybe even a little bit into overtime. But you're getting into the 12th, 15th drive of a game. For your defense,
they're gonna be tired
at this point. They're going to be tired. Do you want to throw a tired defense out there and be like, hey, guys, I need you to do one more stop again? It's at that point, it's attrition. It's a war of attrition.
Yeah, it is. It's literally going to be which team is going to fight for it the most. Like, which team is going to have that extra tank of gas in there for them. So, yeah, that's kind of the little mini tangent there. Let's talk a little bit of some positives with the Chiefs before we get into our main topic here. First of all, Chiefs have signed some nice wide receivers, 3 of them in particular. 2 of them I don't mind. 2 of them
I like.
One of them I'm not too happy with. The 3 wide receivers, Corey Coleman, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, formerly of the Packers, and Coleman is formerly of the Browns, and a former Pittsburgh Steeler by the name of Juju Smith-Schuster. So, Matt, I'll let you kind of share your thoughts on which ones you like and which ones you don't, and then I'll share mine.
So overall, I like 2 of them, and I'm indifferent on the third one. I think we're close to the same spot, except you do a little bit more than are indifferent to one of them. In a vacuum, so in my opinion, Juju and MVS are both. If they're your number 2 wide receiver, you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
I use that kind of adage a lot, but I really believe it. Like, there are certain players that you're like, hey, they are not your 1. They are not really a 2. They're like a 1.75, where they're a high end number 2 and a very, very, very low end number 1. And I think both these players fit that category, which is why I hope we're not done adding, because of a vacancy that recently came up that we'll get into.
Yeah.
But in a vacuum, if you told me this offseason we signed MVS and Juju, I would have shit my pants. And I am legitimately so happy about both of these signings. I really like Juju. I am excited to see what he can do in an offense that has a quarterback that can throw more than 15 yards down the field at this point in their career. For MVS,
he's shown.
MBS has shown too, though, that Aaron Rodgers made the most of him, and he was able to, use his skills. I think MBS has I don't think his ceiling's much higher, but his floor is pretty damn high. So
yeah, he's a very strong baseline player. At minimum, he'll make a really good slot receiver.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of these signings, and we'll definitely get into this more, but signal a change in offensive identity for the Chiefs, where Juju's a little bit shiftier, MBS can be more of your deep threat, and it opens up room for us to sign a true like X wide receiver, either via trade or through the draft. I think we'll still want some speed on him. I'm a big fan of the DK to KC train.
Oh, that would be. I would love to see DK come to KC, but man, that cap ramification would be.
So my only thing is, the reason I'm okay with it is DK is not as good as he who has vanished from our world,
recently departed,
our dearly departed. And he won't command as much money. He is a bit younger, so he might opt to do like a 3-year contract and just kind of hope it works out. And I think it's frankly a good opportunity. I don't want to call Hardman a bust because I do enjoy what he can do, but it is an opportunity for Brett Veach to kind of make up for the sins of the past in a way. I've always been one to say, don't double down on a bad mistake. Like, if you realize you make a mistake and you double down on it again, like, you just might as well make the same mistake again.
Yeah.
It's why whenever Chris Jones, everyone was talking about whether he was going to stay in Kansas City, because we signed Frank Clark to this massive deal, and it clearly was like the wrong person to give money for. And we're like, well, could we afford to keep Chris Jones? Yes. You work out the money because you don't let a bad decision stop you from making a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
before you talk about the final player, I want to share this one clip with you here, okay?
Absolutely.
It's from Hard Knocks, back when the Browns went 0-16.
Oh, this will be a good intro.
Big deal. And that really just started me to love shoes. So the older I got,
Talking about his shoes right now.
Buying them. Some of them I don't wear because I'm too scared to get them dirty. I'm blessed with all these shoes, so I'm giving some shoes away to the youth. Mothers that can't afford, shoes, can't afford to buy their kids stuff. I can give that to them, so everyone have on their go-to shoes.
Come on, Corey, get some shoes that work. Stay off the ground. Details, Corey. You gotta gain trust.
Hey, look, it's the abrasive
If you don't
asshole
think
of Todd
don't know
Haley.
what to do, it's gonna be a hard time gaining that trust. It happens all the time.
Oh, Todd.
Come on, Corey, run, Corey.
I forgot that he even worked in the league after.
Come up with that, Corey.
Damn.
That's
There's
you against
Tyrod.
them. Come up with that
Here,
ball.
let me
Pride
find
yourself in
the.
it.
Terrence Mitchell. This is just like a who's who
Oh yeah, here it
like-
is.
disappointment.
Hugh Jackson, everyone's favorite head coach.
Why am I running second team?
What you say?
Why am I running second team? That's crazy to me.
Go get Todd in it, go ask Todd. And then come back and tell me
If
what
you don't want me to play, why won't y'all just trade me?
Boom. If y'all don't want me to play, why don't you just trade me? Corey Coleman.
Gosh. To be fair,
He
I'm not
was a
going to
rookie.
say that he was a first round pick.
And a
Top
bust.
of that.
A heavy bust.
I won't ever argue that he is, a good player. I think he's a player who consistently has shown that he has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But potential is as good as nothing if you don't, do anything with it ever.
Right. If you don't apply it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. This is a practice squad player. If he makes the 53-man roster, good for him. Maybe it's a chance for him to start turning things around and, realizing that, hey, don't take for granted anything in the NFL because, as the NFL stands for, along with anything else, not for long.
Yes, yeah. Nothing is ever guaranteed in the NFL. Let's go ahead and take a moment as well to acknowledge who he played for.
The 0-16 Cleveland Browns with Hugh Jackson and offensive coordinator Todd Haley.
And he played another year with the Browns.
And wasn't his quarterback also Deshaun Kaiser, too?
Deshaun Kaiser at one point was his quarterback. He also played for the New York Football Giants.
Yes, he did. He did.
He then had a year off. I think it was it PEDs that he had a suspension for? He had like
it was something like
suspension.
That. It was
he
either,
got injured.
It was either PEDs.
It was
or
like one thing after another.
Something.
He's been out of the league for a little bit, and I mean, I'm willing to take a flyer on a guy. I'm willing to take a flyer on pretty much everyone shy of Damon Arnett or Henry Ruggs, which we did take a flyer on Damon Arnett, which, and then we cut him after he shot up a place in Las Vegas or something. So, yeah, I'm willing to take a flyer on basically anyone as long as they're not like a huge personality issue or something similar. So it's an opportunity for him to work with a good head coach, a good offensive coordinator, a good quarterback.
Yeah, so like I said, maybe it's a chance for him. Do I think that Corey Coleman? I'll start jumping into my thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
As a person, I'm not a huge Corey Coleman fan, mostly because he was a highly sought after first round pick who was a massive bust. But then again, I mean, the Chiefs didn't really sign him to a huge contract. I mean, we got him to a 1-year deal for probably around $1 million. So, basically nothing. So, at the very least, if he becomes like a number 4 guy on the roster, maybe working as a rotational piece, kind of be like a Swiss Army knife. Sure. Do I see him being a top 3 receiver and a starting line? No. No, I do not.
No.
Because, I mean, you're talking he'd have to beat MBS, McCole Hardman, and also now Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, and a young rookie that we're going to draft, or DK Metcalf, who we're going to trade for. Both exciting options.
Hopefully a young rookie. Hopefully. Because the Chiefs have, 14 picks in this draft? Good Lord.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's gonna be a fun draft night.
If you're, and we will actually be live on draft night.
Which reminds me, next time I go into work, I need to put that request in for draft night because I forgot to do that yesterday.
I already did, so I'm excited for that. First round, it's gonna be a fun night.
Yeah, we have. Do we have two first? Yeah, we have 2 first-round picks.
We have 2 first-round picks. And why do we have 2 first-round picks, Ryan?
We'll get to that in just a second. I want to get my other 2 thoughts.
I just have to keep teasing it over and over again because it's been a topic that I've needed to decompress on for a little bit. Because we didn't get to go live last week.
Right. Yeah. My thoughts on Marquez Valdes-Scantling. My only knock on him is he was a heathen Packer, but personal biases aside, I think Marquez is a really good player. I think he was often overshadowed a lot because he worked with Davante Adams. So.
Oh, shit. Hang on, we have some breaking news.
Oh, is it on Schefter?
Bruce Arians has retired from the NFL.
Oh, shit. Yeah, he has. And hey, Todd Bowles is going to be making statements as the new head coach.
I actually like Todd Bowles.
I think he was decent in New York. He just got the real shit end of a stick with a really bad team.
Yeah, he coached in New York, so
yeah. But I think Todd Bowles is set up for success here.
I think he's in a better spot. I don't know about set up for success, just because they don't have a ton of I
mean, they've got Tom Brady. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's going to carry Todd Bowles to a Super Bowl, just like he did for Bill Belichick. But rounding out my thoughts on Juju Smith-Schuster. As a player, I think Juju Smith-Schuster is a really, really, really solid wide receiver. As a person, I want to think that he's a really nice guy. but I also can't ignore the TikTok shit that he did. And his press conference that he gave for the Chiefs, when he was asked about his TikTok stuff, he kind of just brushed it aside. Like, he didn't really even take responsibility for it. He just brushed it aside, and I'm like, okay. Like,
So
as long as you don't do that shit again, I'm okay with it. But, like,
I think the kind of point that he's kind of, talked about is the thing he brought up in the thing that gave me any, like, sense of relief about that is that he mentioned that if he and the coaching staff, I'm pretty sure he specifically mentioned, like, he and the coaching staff, if they decided that it was a distraction or an issue, that he would stop doing it pregame.
what does that say about Tomlin?
Yeah, which is confusing because I'm pretty sure Tomlin would have been like, "Hey, knock that shit out." So,
although I've heard rumors that Tomlin was kind of more of a hands-off coach, like, "Hey, you do your own thing," kind of an approach.
I mean, hey, if that's how you have to manage personalities, it's how you have to manage personalities. I know that, like, Andy Reid is kind of old school, and he has way too much respect for the game to like shit, like dancing on other teams' logos, that sort of stuff. That doesn't fly.
He's also just a man of sportsmanship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, like, it's to the point that Andy Reid won't run it up on teams. He won't try to score.
Yeah, he won't pull a Vegas where you literally take a victory lap around the team stadium, and then the following time you play them, you get bodied in your home stadium.
That's the clip we need to open with.
I'll find that next time.
The end of that game, and then cutting into the Arrowhead playing "The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round." This is a classic troll job. And the other thing too is that before that game as well, that game was a fucking massacre, and it was a two-parter, and it's because of the bus situation. It was our first home game since that situation went down, and second, our first home game against the Raiders, I should say. And second, that was when they decided to gather up on our logo and, like, start dancing.
Oh no, that was this year.
That was the same. That was this year, and it was the same fucking game. And
no, I thought the victory lap was 2020.
The victory lap was 2020.
Oh, okay.
And then
I see
we played them at Vegas, and then we played them at Vegas. It had been over a year since the game. It was the first time we got to have revenge on them on our soil. They come in and they danced on our logo.
They got smacked for it.
They got hit by a bus. We'll put it that way.
I feel, that's usually how it is. Like, I mean, you saw, last year when Juju did that on the Bengals logo, and Juju got freaking bodied by that corner from Cincinnati. Like, that's the way the NFL works. You do something stupid, you're gonna get hit for it.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, it's literally the fuck around and find out, basically. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Do we want to get into our big topic here, Matt?
Sure.
The heartbreak that we almost did a emergency episode last week for.
Yeah, we almost cleared our schedule. I almost failed a midterm to make time. I still might have failed it, but we find out tomorrow. But we almost had an emergency podcast because
there were several mental breakdowns from us both.
You were there when I found out.
You showed it to me.
We had just crushed a presentation. We did so well. Everything was going great. I look down at my phone and I stare at it.
And I look at Matt and I'm like, everything okay?
The group's talking, and I'm just, like, trying to, like, wrap my head around this to articulate it. And I'm like, Ryan, we just traded Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins.
And what was my response?
You said, huh?
Yeah, I was like,
it didn't make sense to you either.
I was like, what?
that wasn't even a possibility. So our presentation started at 10. At 10:03, it was reported that they had given him permission to seek a trade, and not only that, it was down to the Jets or the Dolphins.
Both teams that suck.
10:03. And by the time we got out of class at noon, he was traded. It was gone. Like, it was a situation that swelled up and, like, resolved itself so fucking quick. Like, and apparently it's been going on ever since the Devontae Adams deal came through.
Yeah.
So I guess we can talk about like the reason for the trade. Some people were like, "Oh, is there a rift in the locker room?" That sort of thing. This is one of those situations that is so cut and dry. It's just purely about money.
Yeah, Tyreek wanted to get paid, and I can't fault him for wanting to get paid.
Absolutely not. And he wanted to top the Devontae Adams deal, and
the Chiefs couldn't afford it.
No, absolutely not. So we can get into it. So he got a brand new deal. They ripped up his current one. He starts playing on this deal this year. It's a 4-year deal, $120 million. That is
that's
$30 million a year.
Yeah.
On average, most of that is in the last year. So it's kind of I believe the first year.
Yeah, it's a very backloaded contract.
It's like this year I think he gets paid like 20 something. Then he goes up to like 31, and then it's like 28, 26, and then it jumps up to like 48.
Yeah.
So like it's not, that money's never coming to him.
But I think he's also in that last year. It's a potential void year of his contract, so they could potentially trade him as well.
Well, so here's the confusing thing though, and so he will be a free agent in 4 years. He'll be 32 when this deal's over.
Yeah.
So he won't have a ton of value at that point, so they're not going to want to pay him that much. The contract is fully guaranteed, so they're either going to have to restructure him. I take that back. They're going to have to restructure him.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be paying almost $50 million to a non-quarterback who's 32, I will argue time and time again, he does not rely on his speed, but you cannot deny that a massive part of his game is that just neck-breaking speed where you're like, man, that guy has to have whiplash when he stops because he can put his foot in the dirt so quick.
Yeah.
I think so. For the Dolphins, short term, they have loaded up. They got Raheem Mostert. They're just surrounding Tua with all the weapons and being like, we dare you to fucking fail now.
It's like
they're like,
this is your last chance. Fuck it up again.
They are pulling him, kicking and screaming like, you will win football games.
You will
consistently.
You will win 9 games, and we will get the number 7 seed, or so help me God.
But that's a whole other can of worms. And I think, the Dolphins, this is a good move short term. But I want to raise the question, and maybe I should wait till after we talk about how this benefits the Chiefs, because trading away, a top 3 wide receiver in the league is never, a good move on paper. But
at least in the short term, I don't think it's a good move.
I think I've seen it on Twitter. People talk about it. This year, there is no scenario in which the Chiefs are better off without Tyreek Hill on the roster than they are with.
Right.
This year.
Yeah.
This year. Which is, I think, perfectly acceptable. Brett Veach, he knows that. He knows he's not going to replace the production. And Andy Reid had to sign off on this too. He's not going to just lose his coveted number 1 weapon without anything coming through.
But I do agree, yeah.
This year they will not be better, but and so you can argue that they're the 3rd or 4th best team in their conference now. I think they're 2nd or 3rd. We can get into that later. I think we'll wait till after the draft before we kind of start to really take a look, because it's so hard to judge this trade right now because so much of it is draft capital. So we can get into the Chiefs' compensation. The Chiefs received for Tyreek Hill a first-round pick, number 29 overall. So they now have 29 and 30. They have the second overall pick. Or sorry, not the second overall. A second-round pick from the Dolphins this year. A 4th-round pick. I wish. And then a 4th and a 6th next year. So it's a sizable haul.
We got 5 draft picks out of it.
That is a deal, and they freed up $20 million in space, which they have used a lot. And we talked about some of the
could be
bigger moves.
That'll be very beneficial for next year when we have quite a few players coming off of rookie contracts.
Yes. The one Thornhills, Mecole Hardman. They aren't going to be like top dollar free agents, but depending on how this year goes,
Well,
it's someone they probably would be interested in at least considering retaining. So
even because I believe next year isn't what was the cornerback number 38?
Sneed's got.
Is he got one more year?
He will be eligible for a contract extension next year.
Okay.
Because this last year was his second year. After you finish your third year, you can do a contract extension or negotiate a new contract and rip up the old one. So we've got a little bit of time on him, but I think everyone would rather we just get a deal done with him sooner rather than later.
Yeah, same for Willie Gay too, the linebacker.
Yeah, good old Bill Gay. God, I love him. He's a damn good player. I hope he keeps developing.
I want him to be the next Derek Johnson.
I do too. Yeah, he's got the athletic talent.
He's on the right track for it. Yeah, my thoughts on this whole. Those first couple days, I was like, "What in the actual fuck?" Like, I was just like, "What are we do? Are we just basically saying, okay, this 2022 season's a wash?" And then over the course of the next week, when we signed MBS and Juju, I was like, okay, I'm not as worried now. I'm still a little worried.
Yeah.
But, going back to what you said earlier, this is definitely a signing of, like, a changing of the guard. The Chiefs are trying to move away from, like, a Legion of Zoom necessarily and more work in a variety of players. Some skill positions, speed players, physical threats, adding in multiple levels that they can attack defenses with.
And don't get me wrong, there is still a ton of speed on this roster. I mean, Mecole Hardman, MBS has some good speed to him. Corey Coleman, I know.
Tony,
but he does have some speed to him.
Jody Fortson.
Jody Fortson is one of the fastest tight ends out there.
He's basically He's basically a glorified wide receiver. Fight me.
Yes. Although he blocked really well. He did block pretty well.
He blocked better than Tim Tebow.
Low bar. I could block better than Tim Tebow, and I have blocked better in my brief football career than Tim Tebow ever did. But I am really optimistic about the future. Not necessarily the immediate present, although if we get, if we can use these two picks to either get a difference maker at edge or like use, maybe trade up a little bit with both of them, get a really good edge, and maybe like, I'd be okay if we drafted a cornerback or like a really solid wide receiver. I definitely want edge first. But I think that there's a lot of potential. Yeah. And that's a word that scares me because, if you don't do anything with the potential, then nothing happens. But I think overall this is a move we were never going to make, retaining him. So, thank him for his 6 years of service. We gave him some money. We gave him a chance when a lot of teams had him off at their board. We gave him another chance when some legal situations came up again. Those got cleared up, and he was just an absolute monster. So,
and he got a Super Bowl ring out of it too. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't think he's complaining about his time in KC at all. Andy Reid and Brett Veach both talked about, they loved him and wanted to retain him, but the numbers just don't work.
Yeah.
And Tyreek Hill talked about it. He said that there's, he loves Big Red. He loves Kansas City. It's just a new chapter in his life, and he needs to do what's best for his family. And I will never fault a player for wanting money.
No,
I just won't.
Yeah, no, and I definitely think that Tyreek Hill is worth his money that he's getting paid in Miami. I think he's definitely worth it. I wish him the best down in Miami. I wish that he can help Tua become a much better quarterback and hopefully save Tua's career.
Yeah, Tua's not doing much to save his own career, so get someone else to do it for him.
Yeah.
I don't like Tua that much. I don't think that's clear yet, but
I'm not a huge fan of him either. He's basically a Nick Foles.
Tua's just like, I don't know. Tua's one of those guys coming out of college that tank for Tua was a thing, and I think it's kind of a ridiculous thing to think about now.
Yeah.
The tank for Tua, everyone thought the Dolphins were tanking so they could get him. They got him at number 6, and that still feels like it was a little high to draft him at.
Especially with his injuries he had in college.
Yeah. He hasn't shown that he can stay healthy for a full year.
There's also, I'm also seeing on Adam Schefter, more news is breaking about that Bruce Arians. He's not fully retiring from football. He is retiring from the head coaching position and accepted a senior football consultant position within the Buccaneers front office.
Okay. That makes more sense because he doesn't seem like I watched some interviews with him specifically talking about Tom Brady, and he didn't seem like a guy who was done with football, which is why I was pretty surprised. But like a front office position or something like that.
Move away from a less stressful job, because I know Bruce Arians has struggled with health stuff in the past. So,
I was going to say,
move to a less stressful position and let someone else take the reins.
2020, I think it was, he was battling cancer.
Yeah.
He's had a couple battles with cancer at this point. He's already retired from the league once. He's the oldest coach in the league, I believe. He was, anyway.
It's either him or Pete Carroll, one of the two.
So, like, either way, he's 67. Pete Carroll is 70, but he runs around on the field like he's 30. So
he definitely runs around.
Like
he
has more energy than Sean McVay. So
he likes to run around with his shirt off in the locker room too.
Oh God. Have you seen? Okay, this is a tangent, and it's just one of my favorite clips.
Yeah.
And we should absolutely air it.
You wanted me to play it?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It's 20 seconds.
Is it a
and
Pete
it's
Carroll
one of
quote?
my. It's not a quote. It is just when he met DK Metcalf before they even drafted him.
Yeah, I've seen this. Here, I'll pull it up. Hang on.
Well,
why is subtitles on? Here, we'll drag us down a bit here. They don't need to see our face.
Shirt off.
That's great.
And it kind of pissed me off, so I took my shirt off too. Not for long though.
Yeah. Too long. Too long.
Much longer than that. Right.
Make sure you get that on film now. Make sure you get that on film. That is awesome.
You know, for 70, like he's still a pretty built dude.
Yeah, it's like not as impressive, but like still for his age, like, you know.
Yeah, that's a pretty athletic build. He looks better than Terry Bradshaw.
I mean, he also has his brain together compared to Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw looks like he played in an era before they knew about concussions, like more than any other player in the league.
He probably has some long-term brain damage from it, but
Gosh.
But you know, we still love Terry.
Yeah. Terry's like that at this point. That old kook.
Yeah, he's like that crazy uncle.
He annoyed me for a while, and then like he just kind of became lovable at some point. So
the only person I don't like on like the NFL broadcast or whatever, like, well, not like commentators, because I have a few that I don't like, but the only one that I don't like is Bill Cowher.
Bill Cowher, yeah, I've never been a huge fan of him.
He just comes off as an ass sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I don't know if you ever played NFL Head Coach.
I did
but like
not.
the original NFL Head Coach has the picture for it is a picture of Bill Cowher screaming at someone. That's what made the cover of it. It's pretty hilarious actually. But we can I do want to actually touch on I want to finish talking about like we did end up clearing up 20 million or so in cap space because of this move. I think it was 23 million, which gave us roughly 30, slightly under to make moves like, we could afford to have Juju, we could have MVS. We signed Jermaine Carter, which is like the answer to our, who's going to be Ben Neiman in this system.
Mhm.
We signed Rojo, which I am ecstatic for. I think he adds a nice element to our offense that we didn't really have last year outside of like Jerick McKinnon brought some speed, but Jerick McKinnon was more of an outside zone guy. Rojo doesn't really have. It's kind of weird. He doesn't really have that kind of gear in which he can take a ball to the outside. He's more of like you run him through the middle, and if he gets through the first tackle, he's gone. He's gonna go to the house. He's got burner speed, but just not at angles.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I think this is definitely a win-win for both teams. The Chiefs free up some much-needed cap space and get some really good draft capital. It sucks losing that number one guy, but it makes sense for the long term. And for the Dolphins, who need help at the wide receiver position, this is an instant money move for them.
Yeah. Give up some assets, potentially be worse in a few years, but get a few years out of like one of the best wide receivers in the league. And give your rookie quarterback on a rookie deal all the chances you can to prove that they're right to take you. So speaking of the Tyreek Hill thing, the same day last Wednesday, I don't know if you've heard about this. Deion Bush signed with the Chiefs earlier that morning. Deion Bush is a safety. If you're familiar, he was with the Bears. I highly recommend, this is just in general, everyone follow this man because he is one of the funniest football players I've ever seen.
I'll pull him up
on Twitter. I sent you a link to it.
Yeah.
But if you scroll down, if you scroll down a little bit. So he tweeted at 11:33, moments after Tyreek Hill had been traded. He said, "What's up, Chiefs Kingdom?" And everyone screamed, "Not now!" as a universal Twitter. Everyone's like, "Can you play wide receiver?"
This is right here.
Do you know that GIF of Community of Childish Gambino coming into the room carrying pizza and the whole room's on fire?
Yes.
That is the whole thing.
That was Deion Bush coming to KC.
So then his next tweet is, "My bad, y'all. I'll hit y'all up later." Which is amazing.
And then his gif of him peeking up behind the thing.
Two days later, Chiefs Kingdom, what's up?
This dude's pretty funny.
I don't care if he plays a damn snap. Give him a lifetime contract if he's going to be funny like this on Twitter.
I like his most recent one. This Kansas City barbecue good. My inbox.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got some comedy there.
Yeah, I like him. He seems like a fun addition. I mean, we need, ever since the biggest news, and I can't believe we didn't cover this at all.
Oh,
Dan Sorensen is not going to be a Chief this year.
So sad. So sorry to see him leave.
Dan Sorensen is a Saint, and if you had told me at the beginning of this offseason that the Saints were going to sign a Chief safety, I can promise you I would have been like, did they trade for Juan Thornhill before I said they signed Dan Sorensen? So
I would have said Tyrann Mathieu, but
that's your instinct. I was like, Tyrann Mathieu makes so much sense. He's still on the market, by the way. What's going on there?
Yeah. And I also just saw something. We'll touch on Tyrann Mathieu, but I just saw something interesting that the Seahawks have shown potential interest in Cam Newton. Your initial thoughts on that?
No. I like Cam, and I think one of the coolest stories of the season last year was when Cam Newton came in for like the first game, and he played pretty well. They didn't win, but he played pretty well, and the home crowd went wild, for him, and he scored 2 rushing touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. And then he just was old and continued to be Cam Newton.
That's unfortunately where Cam Newton is now. He's essentially a rookie Lamar Jackson. Like, he cannot throw anymore. His shoulder is so screwed.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If he would just not, that'd be great. That'd make me feel better. But yeah, so Deion Bush we re-signed. We also got to re-sign Derek Nottie, who I know you weren't huge on necessarily. I did see that.
But I don't think it's a terrible move, honestly.
It's cheap. It's a cheap move. And it fills a position of need very well.
It does, and I don't hate Derek Nottie. I really like Derek Nottie as a person. I just haven't really seen enough on field from him to really be like, oh yeah, he's a really great player. But I don't think it's a bad move by any means.
And then last but not least, the last move that we made free agent wise that we haven't talked about yet is the biggest signing of the offseason. Blake Bell is back in Kansas City, baby. We're running 4 tight ends again. It's going to be amazing. I love it. I'm so excited.
Which means Jody Fortson's going to lose out again.
No. Jody showed they ran the T-Rex formation like twice before Jody got hurt. And it was amazing every time.
To be completely honest, worst comes to worst. You just convert Jody to a wide receiver.
Yeah. Switch him back. Or convert Noah Gray to be like a proper H-back. I mean, and here's the thing too, is if we didn't have Blake Bell, who was going to run quarterback sneak for us? Like, we wouldn't have that guy. We needed a quarterback sneak specialist. So,
yeah, because I don't want to see Mahomes dislocate his knee in a Broncos game again.
Yeah, Mahomes is not allowed to.
Was it his knee or his elbow?
It was his knee.
I thought it was his knee.
Supposedly his kneecap itself was pushed to the side of his knee, which is, if you don't know, not where your kneecap is supposed to be.
Yeah, just a basic class in biology will teach you that.
Yeah, the bones are they're put there for a reason, and they should probably stay there for the most part. So yeah, overall, I think we're both in agreement though. Tyreek Hill, the deal made sense for both sides. My question to you though is, how many times have these big trades for one player worked out? Ever? For a non-QB especially.
I was going to say, for a non-QB, that's an interesting question.
For a non-QB, you trade the house, which you can argue that this isn't that much, but I think it's a ton of value. In terms of wins above replacement, they take the picks and they can convert them into a number of value, and then they say, hey, that value on average will get you this many wins above replacement, which is a fancy stat for just determining how valuable a player is. And comparatively, we got 1.25 wins per replacement compared to them getting 0.75 in terms of value for what they gave up. So ultimately, they lost about half a win with this trade, supposedly.
Potentially.
Which is very interesting. So again, it's going to completely depend on how we use it. I mean, if we miss on all these picks, this is the worst move of Brett Veach's career, and he will be fired very quickly. But if he nails them, he will be given a lifetime contract and a porta potty to take a shit in everywhere he goes.
Well, and the thing is,
carried by the Hunt family.
Brett Veach. Sure, there's been draft busts. I mean, you're always going to have a couple players per draft that are going to be a bust. That's to be expected. But he really has hit on some really, really good players. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, for God's sake.
It was
freaking Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been a nice addition to the team. He's really addressed some really good offensive line players, some good defensive players, and L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, he's made some good moves in the draft.
So let's look at.
And I personally don't want to see Brett Veach fired, because finding a good GM is very hard to come across.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be stuck in a Jacksonville scenario right now.
Fuck no. Trent Baalke can eat one. So let's look at Brett Veach drafts. Okay, so we'll see. His first year is one of the worst drafts I've ever seen. The only good pick that I consider like a good pick, I do like the Derek Nottie at the 3rd round, but the first pick, the number 1 pick, was traded for Patrick Mahomes the previous year. Yes, do that again. Then we got Breeland Speaks in the 2nd round, who is not in the league anymore.
Yeah.
Derek Nottie in the 3rd. Dorian O'Daniel, who is currently a free agent. Armani Watts, currently a free agent. Traymon Smith, currently a free agent. Khalil McKenzie, currently a free agent, but has been completely out of the league for a couple of years.
Yeah. That first draft was a rough one. Which, for a bit there, Armani Watts looked like a decent player. But
Armani Watts, I wouldn't mind if we brought him back. He's a good special teams player. He knows the system. He's filled in a few times.
Yeah.
But they just have never shown any trust in him, and that's probably for a reason.
I mean, he made an interception in the Super Bowl.
He did. And then we go to the next draft, 2019. We traded back our first round pick.
This was a pretty good draft.
This is when we traded for Frank Clark, and we really only traded a 2nd round pick, but we ended up with a second round pick out of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we really just moved back about 30 spots, and got and that let us move around. We drafted Mecole Hardman, who our thoughts have been on there a lot.
It's mixed.
Yeah. That pick should have been DK Metcalf. We all know now.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was DK Metcalf when they traded up for this spot, but
hopefully Mecole Hardman takes that next step here in his final year under his rookie contract.
Yeah, and he seems motivated. I follow him on Instagram and everything, and he's like reposting things about how this is his year. This is his opportunity to show people, and I'm like, I really hope so. Like, I legitimately, I like Mecole the person. I think he needs his highlights are incredible. Yeah, consistency is what we need, because again, there were some points last year where he was completely unplayable, and sometimes when you're like, man, we could trade away Tyreek Hill. On Thornhill. So last draft was awful. This one is very mixed. I love Thornhill. I love one. I hope he gets another contract. I hope he plays exactly well enough that he gets an okay contract from us for like 4 years.
This year is the best year for him as well, because he's not going to be competing with Dan Sorensen. He's not going to be competing with Tyrann Mathieu. It's going to be him. It's going to be him and Justin Reed playing the safeties. And
I like that
be a chance for him.
And then we have Colin Saunders. I really like Colin.
Is he still in free agency?
He's still on our team. He was Colin Saunders was on injured reserve last year.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
And he came back, and they just never had him active for the rest of the season. I don't know if his injury was worse than they anticipated or what, but they just ended up not needing him. I like him. I think he plays really well. He is the fastest big man I've seen since
it's terrifying.
Dontari Poe.
Maybe we can have Dontari Poe do a QB pass.
Yeah. And then a huge gap, and then we drafted Rashad Fenton, number 201 overall. I really love him.
Yeah, he was a solid player.
He's been a solid player. Still on the team. He's in his last year of his deal. But he's been a good enough corner. If the refs could have fucking opened their eyes and give some goddamn credit to
don't get us canceled
for holding. Rashad Fenton was playing really good defense against Jamar Chase multiple times. And the refs called him for holding and called him for defensive pass interference. And don't get me wrong, sometimes he did. But I think if you look at the full play, there's a whole thing about, the fact that Jamar Chase is a known push-offer, and you have to play physical with them. They backed off in the second half in both games, and we lost both games. And Jamar Chase had a big second half in both games.
Yeah.
Anyway, small tangent. Then we drafted Darwin Thompson.
I miss
Darwin
Thompson.
Yeah, he's in Seattle now.
Oh, is he?
We re-signed him for our playoff run, because he got cut off of Tampa Bay's practice squad.
Yeah.
And then Nick Allegretti, who's been a perfectly fine.
He's been an average offensive lineman.
And then we jump to 2020. This is when things go from mediocre to pretty damn good. Clyde, we've talked about. We both really like him. We just want them to use him a little bit better.
At first, when we drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I was like, why the hell are we drafting a running back?
I kind of expected a running back, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I still don't think I like it, because I am one person who does not believe in luxury picks. I don't think they exist.
You can't afford to waste a draft pick.
No, especially not a high one. Number 63, Willie Gay. This is a very pro Willie Gay show.
Willie Gay, one of the best players from that draft. Changed my mind.
On this thing that listed. So I'm on a website that's ranking the drafts, and they said that this is the best draft, and they describe Willie Gay as a player with endless potential but has rarely been available due to injury, and they labeled him as the biggest bust. No.
Well, I'd say he's been quite the opposite. Sure, he's had a couple of bouts with injury, but the times that he's played, he's missed incredible.
In 2 years, he's missed 6 games, which is
doesn't he have
a lot comparatively.
Didn't he have 3 picks last year for a linebacker?
Yeah, and the difference of this team with Willie Gay being able to guard the flats and without Willie Gay was the difference between us being 2-3 and us being 10-3.
Yeah.
Because again, as soon as Willie Gay came back, that defense shored up. It also coincided with us moving Chris Jones back again and Melvin Ingram getting some snaps on the outside.
And
but all those things in tandem solved our problem.
Even Nick Bolton showed up a lot more throughout the season too.
He started stepping up a lot. Third round, Lucas Niang. Jury's still out on him. We'll find out.
He opted out of his rookie year due to COVID.
Which fair.
I think it's a fair decision, but also that rookie year is one of the most valuable for a player.
And they weren't allowed to have contact with him at all, so they couldn't send him a playbook or anything like that.
Yeah.
So he really had to learn this off season. We only gave him 4 actual weeks to try, and then he got hurt. And then by the time he came back, we stuck with Wiley because we might as well
stick with someone that knows the system.
One of the best value picks. If it weren't for this year's draft, it would be the best pick of Beach's career. L'Jarius Sneed in the 4th round.
Chiefs rookie of the year in his rookie season.
Yes, and deservedly so.
Which you could have made an argument between him and Willie Gay.
Yeah. Mike Dana is
he's been solid.
He's a solid rotational piece. He
showed up this year a lot
better than
than
Frank Clark did.
Yeah.
Consistently last year.
Yeah, he really did. He showed up pretty well when Frank Clark went down with injuries because I think he had 3 or 4 sacks in Clark's absence. So, maybe something to watch there with Dana.
And then the last one was Bo Pete Keys, who
don't know who
played
that
for
is.
us for a little bit. We cut him. He didn't make the 53 this last year. I mean, he was a 7th round pick, so you didn't expect much.
Shame.
He spent time with the Colts and the Bears. He's currently with the Bears, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, wish you luck, man.
And then we already talked about this year, but this year is absolutely amazing. So you can see Brett Veach's drafts have consistently gotten better.
And
And I think that, I mean, it's,
yeah.
you also have to remember it's not just him. He's developing his scouting department. He's developing, he's getting to know Andy. He's getting to know Spags, and he kind of knows what they want and what to give them to, like, make their systems work.
And
so
I want to apologize on this podcast to Steve Spagnuolo for wanting you to be fired early in the season, because you certainly turned that defense around near the midpoint. But if I can give one recommendation, can you please play like that all year? I'm tired of watching the Chiefs' defense suck the first half and then finally figure it out by week 8.
It doesn't have to be so difficult the entire year, guys.
I don't want to have to pull my hair out every week.
Yeah, so that's honestly, like, if we made this trade years ago, like, I would not have been excited for this, but I think Brett Veach has completely flipped the script on how good he is at drafting. And I think that this trade only makes sense with the faith that we have in Brett Veach now, as opposed to what we did have.
Something that I've noticed as well is the Chiefs are not necessarily known for amazingly great first-round picks.
No.
But we have hit on some amazing diamonds in the rough.
Absolutely.
I mean,
think our late round scouting.
I mean, freaking last year we had Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton as 2 massive ones, Trey Smith. Like, 3 people right there. Massive players that were not in the first round.
2 of them literally massive.
Yeah, 2 of them, yeah.
Yeah, I think we are, and I know it's going to sound like a joke because of where the Seahawks are now, but I really do think that our scouting department has shown that they are just as talented as, like, the Patriots and the Seahawks at getting late round talent that actually contributes.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, it sounds like a joke right now, but, like, let's not pretend that the Seahawks weren't built on a bunch of 5th and 6th round picks.
Yeah.
3rd round pick, 2nd round pick. They did not do it with 1st round picks that were flashy. They did it by finding guys to go do their job, and it created a legendary defense.
From memory, Bobby Wagner wasn't a 1st round pick, was he?
Bobby was a 1st round pick, I'm pretty sure.
Was he?
It was the same draft that they drafted. It was the same draft. Oh, he was a 2nd round pick because they also drafted Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson as well were both not 1st round picks, and they were 2 of the best players in that draft.
All I can remember,
Bobby Wagner is damn good.
All I can remember from the 2017 draft was the Chiefs trading up to pick up Patrick Mahomes, and I remember being flushed with a mix of emotions. Because I was like, but guys, we have Alex Smith. And
can I tell you what I was thinking?
And now looking back at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this was a great trade. This was a great move.
Yeah. When I first saw the trade go down when we went and got Patrick Mahomes, I was not angry that we drafted a quarterback because I'd wanted us to.
You were mad that we got a Texas Tech quarterback.
I was mad that we didn't draft Deshaun Watson, honestly.
And now you're happy that we did.
And I was wrong. Yeah. Shout out. A couple of my friends are masseuses in the area. One of my friends is married to a masseuse in the area, and I am deeply grateful that they did not. They do work on a bunch of Chiefs players, and they can't give me specific. They can't. Client privilege. They can't tell me who, but they have confirmed that no one has touched them inappropriately. So, pretty good situation. But that is our primary topics.
You got any
to cover.
Any other laundry list items you want to go over before we wrap it up?
Not really. There was something that came up earlier, and you can stall for time to see if I remember it. But
I just found out something. The Bills. We didn't talk about the Bills and the new stadium agreement.
oh, the stadium, yeah, we did not. We can go over that briefly.
Yeah.
It's an insane deal. Taxpayers are helping out a lot, but it's like 30-year deal for like a $1.6 billion stadium.
Let me double check it real quick. I think it was on.
I like to just say numbers.
I think Schefter posted it, right?
Buffalo News. 30-year deal to build a $1.4 billion stadium.
Yeah, yep, that's it. God damn.
Which also prompted some comments, and I am firmly in the camp that these are related things. That later the same day, the Chiefs started flirting with some stuff.
Matt, if you take a look at my stream, I did not see this. Draft dates are now set for 2023. The NFL draft will be held in Kansas City on April 27th through 29th.
Yes, they announced that they were hosting the draft because they decide 2 years in advance, but they set the date a year in advance.
I did not see that. I didn't see that. Matt, we're gonna do a live RefBall Sports from the draft.
I mean, I'm absolutely going.
Is it gonna be at Power? Is it gonna be at Power and Light? Probably.
Probably.
God, traffic getting out of Power and Light's gonna be a nightmare. We can watch the Jets and the Jags continue to waste their picks.
It's gonna be great. I am so excited. I'm excited to watch the Seahawks draft someone like Spencer Rattler or something. Just be awful forever. So yes, that's exciting. And then the Chiefs talked about flirting with like moving over to Kansas, the Kansas side of the border. Arrowhead Stadium's a legendary stadium. I think they're just really trying to like want some renovations, I'm sure, and they're like, hey, this is a perfect opportunity for us to, we see all this money that they're getting from their area. Let's see.
The problem is Buffalo's a very big market team. Kansas City is not a big market.
No, and so I mean, it's not going to be as big of a deal, and they're only going to want renovations, honestly. But
yeah, and I mean, the biggest reason why the Chiefs here's the difference between Kansas City and Buffalo. Buffalo's a big market city and a big market team, but they're very casual fans. And I'm gonna say that in the sense of like, you'll see a lot of bandwagons, similar to Kansas City. Now, Buffalo also has a lot of diehard fans. The difference, though, is it's a very split. There's a lot of diehard fans, but there's also a lot of casual fans. The Chiefs fan base is a lot more loyal.
Yeah. I mean, we were bad for so many years,
and we still sold out. We still sold out Arrowhead, even when we were doing like 2-14.
Yeah. I didn't watch. The only year I didn't watch every single game. I still watched most of them, but it was 2013. It was 2012. Excuse me. It was the year of Romeo Crennel
and the days of Dwayne Bowe.
God fucking bless. If I could make that much money for doing so little,
dude,
I would.
Imagine. Okay. I know we're dragging this on a bit, but imagine if we had Jamal Charles in our current offense.
Oh, I don't even want to think about it. That man kept us from becoming the worst franchise in like NFL history over like a span. And he deserved all the winning he got toward the end of his career.
He's the all-time winning, or he's the all-time rushing leader for Kansas City.
Yeah. I think he ended up losing his record for average yards per carry that he had.
Yeah, he did.
because he decided to go play for some shittier teams. But
yeah, didn't he sign with Cleveland?
he signed with Denver and then
Denver.
Jacksonville.
I forgot he signed with Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think he did too. He was only there for a little bit. But he retired a Chief.
God bless.
He also has a Twitch channel that is deeply underfollowed. I highly recommend going to.
Oh, he's a nerd.
Yeah,
let's go.
Well, he plays like Madden mostly, and like.
Speaking of, maybe that could be one of our future topics.
Madden.
Yeah. So just to kind of give the audience a little breakdown, this is the way that we're gonna kind of do things from here on out, is kind of keep it to around an hour and a half episodes, just so it doesn't drag on.
There'll definitely be exceptions if a bunch of stuff happens. We're gonna talk about
and like the draft too. The draft will be a longer episode.
Draft will go on for like 3 to 4 hours, depending on how long the actual draft lasts. So
and guess
I'm
what?
excited for that stream.
I will be legally able to drink, so it'll be a fun night.
It'll be a party. I will make that my like night I can drink this month.
Yeah,
and we'll have a good time. By the time 29 and 30 come around, we will have some hot takes ready to go. For whatever happens, assuming we don't pick earlier, or assuming that Brett Veach doesn't trade away our first round picks for.
we trade the 30th pick to get Tyreek Hill back.
Hey, that's a good deal.
But so just
eat his salary for a few years. Yeah,
just to kind of give you guys some ideas of future episodes that we're kind of thinking of next week. Next week we're thinking about maybe doing a mock draft. Maybe next week we'll do the how we would fix the Madden franchise and save the mock draft for like the week but leading up to the draft.
Yeah, I think we could do Madden next week, and then
we're as a person who's played a lot of the Madden games, I've got a lot of things to say on it.
Yeah. So I think tentatively our plan, and things can always change. Madden we'll talk about next week. For next month, the 27th we would usually stream. We will not be streaming that day because we'll be streaming on the 28th.
Draft day.
It'll be great. We'll do a mock draft on the 20th probably, or maybe earlier.
Yeah, probably that 20, maybe the 23rd, because that'll be the Wednesday before the draft. Or hang on, I'm on March. Yeah, I'm on March. Yeah, the 20th.
It would be the 20th. Yeah.
So next week. We'll do something like that. Next week, April 6th will be Madden. I've thought of some ideas for April 13th. Possibly, we could do quarterback rankings.
That'd be fun. We off screen kind of did one.
Yeah.
We can kind of
get
go over that.
We could or we could discuss the USFL, because April 16th, my 21st birthday, is the first games of the USFL. So maybe we could do something about the USFL on the 13th, or on the 13th.
That's right. My key on my keyboard fell off, so just gonna push that back on there. There we go. A lot of fun stuff coming up. I think the shorter episodes will keep us a little bit more energetic throughout. Yeah. Plus, it's going to be a long off season, so we'll have plenty to talk about.
Oh yeah.
All off season until we actually get back into training camp and when football matters again. So, but this next month is going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of build up to the draft. Chiefs are probably going to make some moves. I can't wait for the DK Metcalf stream where I buy a DK Metcalf jersey on stream. So, it should be good fun. That said, I think that's all we have this week.
Yeah. I think that's all we got to cover today. we will be back next week to discuss how Matt and I would fix the Madden NFL franchise and give it some redeeming qualities and bring it back to its former glory. So thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to pass this stream over to our friends over at KIGP and give them some raid and show them some love.
Shout out. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Alrighty. In 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Raid
Lift off.
Shadow Legends. There you go. He stuck it in at the end.